Just out of curiosity, I went back and I watched my first video on this topic from back in March, right at the beginning of all of this. Now, before that particular video, this channel was focused mostly on prayer and apologetics, and I remember distinctly feeling like something really crazy was happening. But honestly, I was afraid to come on here and start preaching about the end of the world, because part of me kind of thought that a few weeks, maybe a month later, all of this would blow over. Now, if you think back to that time, back early on, all we were really dealing with was toilet paper shortages and locked churches, while for some reason Home Depot was absolutely packed. I also remember hearing something about a plague of locusts in Africa, but think of how much crazier things have gotten since then. Now, back then, I did another video kind of poking fun at Bill Gates and his ambition to become the Antichrist. Based on my experiences with Windows and Office 365, I just thought maybe he wouldn't be the best choice. And if he got the job, society would certainly lock up, freeze, crash. And in that video, I joked that Bill Gates, he better program a Control-Alt-Delete option in his vaccine program, just to be sure. And it was just a joke, right? Well, what I didn't know at the time was there was already in motion a plan for a great reset, a Control-Alt-Delete for the whole world. Think about it. A virus infects the operating system, and the system needs to be rebooted, reset. Sounds exactly like Windows, doesn't it? Somehow, I don't feel so crazy about thinking that this is actually the end of the world anymore. And if you're not convinced, check out this cover from Time Magazine. FYI, that's Time Magazine. It's not some crazy dude on the internet living in his mom's basement coming up with crazy conspiracy theories. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Why would anyone want to Control-Alt-Delete the whole world? And I'm so glad you asked, because that's really what this video is about. The Great Reset, or as Christians have been calling it since the beginning, the New World Order, is the logical conclusion of the materialist philosophy that has infested Western civilization since the Enlightenment and the French Revolution. Materialism is a belief that everything that exists, everything, did not come from a creator, but came out of a random series of unfortunate events. Now, Christians believe that God created everything, including us, for a very specific purpose. We call this telos. There's a reason for me, there's a reason for you, there's a reason for that tree. But materialists have a problem, a big problem with this telos, because they see the suffering and the evil that exists in the world as a contradiction to telos, because this evil appears to extend not from providence, but from probability and randomness. Christians understand this disorder that exists in creation is due to a fallen nature. We are not entirely what we were intended to be. Through the use of our free will, we chose to be something else, this. But we understand that God is saving us, that through his divine life, he is recreating us. He's restoring us to our proper order. But for the materialist, these are just fairy tales, since they cannot be demonstrated, they cannot be measured, they cannot be quantified. So we must simply just be superstitious, right? If creation did not come from the providence of a loving God, then where did it come from? The materialist has only one possibility. Matter must have come from other matter, but how can this possibly occur? The materialist substitutes terms such as randomness, chance, and probability for the Christian's prime mover. Creation occurred over the course of billions and trillions of years by random reorganization of matter. You've heard this called things like string theory, multiverse, the primordial soup, the God particle. So from this idea, creation as we perceive it is simply an accident. And if the sequence of random accidents might have occurred in a different order, then perchance matter might have been organized in such a manner that disease, poverty, and corruption did not exist. And from the dawn of this idea, we have seen experts in every field attempt to reset, to build back better, a better world, one without suffering, a utopia. In biology, think of Darwin. In economics, think of Marx. In philosophy, think of Freud. In education, think of Dewey. In general, think of the French Revolution. Now, Eric Voegelin identified this modern tendency, this materialism, he identified it with the ancient Gnostic heresy, because Gnostics believed in a dualistic reality in which spirituality was good and matter was evil. Throughout history, different Gnostic cults expressed this belief in varying ways, because there was Manichaeans, there was Cathars, there was Albigensians. Their beliefs were manifested through the denial of nutrition, reproduction, ritual suicide, and even in some cases, small children were left to die by exposure to the elements. Voegelin compares this ancient heresy to modern-day materialists because, like Gnostics, they believe that matter is evil. But additionally, Gnostics believed that they had the secret knowledge, the science, that through their rituals they could overcome this evil. For example, ritual suicide liberated an individual's pure spirit from their material prison. Modern Gnostics, Voegelin argued, also believe that they have the secret knowledge, which is capable of reorganizing and improving matter. And here you can start to plug in all of the political agendas that they've been forcing on you all of these years. Government programs, eco policies, social engineering. The way things are traditionally is wrong. Their political system can reorganize it and make it a utopia. They can build it back better because there's something wrong with the way things were first created. Now contrast this to Christianity, specifically the sacraments. Through the matter of the sacraments, God communicates his sanctifying grace to us. He comes down to us. He shares himself with us. We cannot save ourselves through our own effort, but he comes to us. He changes the bread to himself, the wine to his blood, and shares his life with us through those sacraments, transforming us, not destroying us, not resetting us, not control-alt-deleting us, not building us back better, but restoring us to our proper nature. Modern Gnostics reject this idea because they truly believe that they can fix everything without God, through their own genius, through their own ideas, through their own social engineering. They believe that they are capable of creating a utopia through their own efforts. In this manner, the modern material Gnostic can also be described as Pelagian. Mankind is saved not through grace, but through his own active reorganization of the established material order, through a great reset. They will build it back better. Now, what is it that they are resetting? In past videos, we discussed how they've already transformed the way we get our food, the way we educate our children, and whether or not we should even be alive. At the end of this video, I'll post a playlist of those 3 videos. But we will continue to discuss this topic here, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those videos. And one last thing. You've heard many other YouTubers explain how we are getting our traffic throttled, and you can imagine how damaging something like that would be for a small channel like ours. So please share our videos around social media. It would really help us out. And here's that playlist. This new world doesn't view us this way. It views each of us as a problem that takes up too much space or too many resources. If we are not somehow useful, then it'd be better if we weren't ever born. This new world is a culture of death.